All right, Scorpio Ophiuchus, welcome to your yearly 2018 Sidereal Astrology forecast. So yeah, this video is for Sidereal. If you are new to the channel and are used to mainstream astrology videos, be sure to check out the link down below. We're using the actual size of the constellations, which does change the signs from mainstream. And so you do want to make sure you're watching this video for your correct signs. There's also a birth chart calculator down below. So you can see what your sidereal sun, moon, and ascendant is, because I do recommend watching all three of those videos to get a bit more of a holistic look at the year. So Scorpio and Ophiuchus, the emphasis this year is on your spirituality, your alone time, getting in touch with the more receptive aspects of yourself. Jupiter is going to be expanding your 12th house. So really good for learning about psychology, spirituality, meditation. Again, getting that receptive energy so you can be more in touch with your inner beingness, with God, with life, and really find what we all really strive for, which is more bliss, more real bliss, peace, centeredness, tranquility in our life. So with that expanding, I think the area you can really work hard at this year is going to be on your finances or your resources. You may notice a bit of limitation with this, as Saturn is going to be transiting your second house, but it is for the long term here. Wherever Saturn is, it does help us build the area more concretely and can help us have more abundance in that area, so long as we are taking the responsible approach. For example, with finances, it's like saving a dollar means earning a dollar. You know, that kind of responsible approach to, let's say, finances, that Saturn can help you build and develop here this year and next, actually, with that transit. All right, so let's look at this along with the other important events here this year, here in just a minute. All right, Scorpio and Ophiuchus, here is your chart for the year, looking at the outer planets. There is Jupiter in your 12th house of essentially, again, finding peace in life. A lot of you should have plenty of opportunities to get this alone time, this receptive approach, and really connect to that centeredness, which is really what life is fundamentally about, I would say. There's Saturn there in your second house, which is about the resources. So fundamentally, this is about your inner resources and taking that grounded, serious approach towards building your inner resources, self-worth, self-reliance, self-efficacy, the belief that you can pursue and attain your values in life. And as a result, then, yes, building it in the external investments, savings, all that kind of stuff. Really, really good time to take that responsible approach with this. And contrary to what most modern astrologers might say, Saturn is actually a very benefic planet. I mean, it's a malefic, is what they call it, but he does produce results. When people have Saturn transiting the second, they can create very good financial stability and income and all this kind of stuff. It just takes time. It just takes that responsible approach. But when you build it one step at a time, that's where the power truly lies with Saturn. So this is a very general reading. I do want to say that, and also mention that there is a 20% off if you are watching this video for a personal reading. So if you do want a more specific look, be sure to check that out. There's a link below and also at the end of this video for 20% off readings for the year. All right, but let's look at this month by month. January 16th, we have Jupiter sextiling up to Pluto. So good support here between that 12th house of spirituality and that second house of your values. So this is involving Pluto, who's been in the second house already for you for the past 10 years, 11 years, helping you be more non-attached with finances, be more non-attached with the material world, right? And through that, this empowering feeling. When we're not attached to something, what happens? We don't care. It's not holding us back. We're free. It's empowering. So this is going to be a very supportive energy where you're likely feeling that empowerment with Jupiter supporting that Pluto, and vice versa. A lot of you may be making some empowering changes with your spiritual health, spiritual well-being, right? Seeing synchronicities, how everything happens in divine timing, to relax, to let the current of the river of life flow us in the proper direction, right? This kind of stuff. Really good too for creative arts, especially those that are receptive, like music or visual arts, or that really creative type of energy, by the way. So that's the sextile January 16th, kicking things off, which is really good. And also a new moon that same day, actually, in your second house of resources. So there could definitely be new beginning with your values, finances, income, all that kind of stuff kicking off the year. Now, January 31st, we have a lunar eclipse in Cancer, but I think it's going to be pulling more on the Leo side of it. Reason being is that we are now finishing up this North Node in Leo. And when the North Node finishes up a sign, it's usually a completion of that energy. Very much so, actually. It feels like it just all of a sudden solidifies. But it's a subtle energy between, like, let's say January and March. These first few months of the year where you are going to be solidifying a lot of the stuff that you've been putting attention towards involving your career. All right, if you've noticed the past year and a half, it's likely been more of an emphasis on your career, your productive life. This is kind of the undercurrent life path, but there's been this development of this area. So now the completion development of career productive type of energy that you can then move forward with in these coming years. So with that though, these first few months, you'll likely also notice a shift where there's a little bit more of a push towards the expanding of your horizons. The North Node is going to be transiting your 9th house all year. And so this is about expanding your worldview and expanding your literal horizons, maybe through travel, adventure, whatever gets into that spirit for life, that adventurous spirit. Okay. But fundamentally, I think learning more about your belief systems. How do you view the world? How do you view your life? How do you view your life path? What's possible? Because it's about opening up to what is possible with the 9th house and the expansion that comes from that. So really good to develop that as you complete maybe some of that productive stuff or notice the completion with that, or public stuff or career stuff. Now, with that being said, February 15th, we do have a solar eclipse with the South Node, emphasizing that where there is growth, there is also releasing. And the releasing for you here is likely on the more practical mind, the objective mind, the mathematical mind, the left side of the brain, where the 9th house is about expansion, possibilities, right side of the brain stuff. The third is the left. So it is suggesting that there's any overthinking in your life, any over cautiousness, practicality. There's nothing wrong with having this stuff, but if it's overly so, if you notice anything imbalanced with the objective mind or with your mind in general, or maybe even with communication actually, or anything practical in your life, really good to bring some balance back with this area this year. February 15th could be a beginning to that. So maybe just feel around then what that's pertaining to. And then between February and July, be really good for implementing that balance and more moderate approach to that 3rd house. Now, April 14th, we have the 2nd Jupiter sextile Pluto. So if you're not sure by January what this whole thing about your self-worth and spirituality, this whole combination of how you're more easygoing, and in fact, that easygoingness could, increase that self-worth and your resources. But by mid-April, there is this more definitive energy about it. And then between April and let's say the rest of the year, or up until about November, really good to be expanding upon these areas in a more tangible way out in the world. Maybe you're living more presently, maybe practicing meditation, and that's helping with your sense of self-reliance, self-worth, and even the income, and seeing how everything happens in that divine process. And as you develop more self-worth, it's supporting you to have more easygoingness. This kind of a thing, it's going to be for each of you very differently, but it's that kind of thing this year. Now, at that same time, mid-April, but April 15th, we have a new moon in Pisces. And the reason this is significant is it is going to be conjunct to Uranus. And so these past 8 years, there's likely been this importance of you expressing yourself and finding the freedom through the self-expression, okay? Or by spending time with those things or people that are close to our heart, all right? That's the 5th house. It's the passion, self-expression, inner fire. And the freedom with Uranus, the freedom that comes from that, of having fun, of expressing yourself, of connecting to those things and people that are close to our hearts. So new beginning with this could be literally new beginnings with this area, anything pertaining to the 5th house, romance, kids, creativity, general self-expression. And that's going to be taking you into the next 6 months of developing more of this freedom with this 5th house. Very, very important there with Uranus. Now, May 25th, we do have Jupiter trining Neptune for the 2nd time. I haven't mentioned this yet because this aspect actually started in December of last year, December 2017. But it's another supportive aspect with Jupiter, who's in that 12th. So what's very nice about this for your signs in particular is that Neptune is the natural ruler of the 12th and is in trine. So that's really supporting the spiritual energy. And I think a lot of you are seeing it very much so. Again, synchronicity, serendipity, how everything happens in divine timing. And where you're likely noticing this in, December of last year, and then again, probably here late May of this year, and for the whole year, for all intents and purposes, is on your home life. I think there's likely been a lot of confusion or uncertainty, maybe nebulousness about your home or your location or family matters these past like 10 years. And so now there's positive flow between this area where you are more easygoing with it. You're seeing the serendipity with it. You're more present with this area. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing that you're seeing. And it's associated with this alone time and all this. Really good for your private life, home life, family life. With that alone time, a more receptive approach to it, right? Between these water houses, very good trine there. So by May 25th, another step in the right direction with that. June 28th, we have the full moon, and this one will be conjunct that Saturn. Also started in December of last year. If you notice December, if there's any new beginnings with your finances or resources, it's going to be a culmination with it. Like I said, it's going to be the next couple years with Saturn, so it's just steps in the right direction. But this could certainly be a culminating step, June 28th with that. July 12th, we have a partial solar eclipse. In fact, 2 partial solar eclipses this year because the new moons are going to be not very close to the North Node, so on both sides of the North Node up here. And so the one on July 12th will be in Gemini, so maybe a new beginning with depth and intimacy and openness and vulnerability. Probably nothing major, but maybe depending on your personal chart, if you've got planets there, for example. And then July 27th, at the end of July, a completion with what we were talking about since February, of bringing more balance back to the practical mind, to the mind itself, to anything that you feel like is communication related, tangible in your life, practical, mathematical, is rational energy. Because it's good to have things understood, it's good to have things figured out, but to a degree. And so any extremes with that now being brought back into balance, it's not, totally done. There's still more quote unquote work to do with it, but with this full moon, it can certainly complete some things and then sort of pivot you, shift you into a continued right direction of bringing balance back to that. And again, to continue to essentially learn about your belief systems, open-mindedness, and expanding your horizons. Now, around this July-August time, Uranus is going to be dipping, not technically in the constellation, but very close to the constellation of Aries. And so this could be a glimpse about 2019 being about freedom with your work and freedom with your day-to-day. So probably nothing tangible with it, but maybe around summer, just kind of be aware of it. It'll give you a bit of a heads up in regards to what it means to have freedom with your work and routine, which you'll be certainly implementing 2019. In August 11th, another partial eclipse with the career sector too. So there could be some new beginnings as there, like I said, there's a completion with your career productive life, but maybe some more new beginnings August 11th. Then August 19th, Jupiter trines Neptune for the last time. So this supportive energy we're talking about with the personal life, home life, your alone time, spiritual life, this is now completion with that. In fact, this whole late summer, autumn time, this is if you're in the northern hemisphere, opposite that if you're in the southern hemisphere, this is a completion during this time with these areas, okay? A solidification of more receptivity with your home, family, more expansion, seeing potentials with your alone time, spirituality, psychology even. A lot of you learning about deep psychology, which is good and be very supportive there. Then September 12th is the last Jupiter sextile Pluto. Completion with that, September, suggesting more steps in the right direction with your resources, finances, that kind of stuff, the empowerment there that's available to you this year. Maybe some final changes you're making with that area. Then October 24th is the completion with Uranus, which is that 5th house. So we're talking about back in April, maybe some new beginnings with the self-expression or the passions, now coming to a completion. And so high point, status check, it's in many ways the final completion of this area, since Uranus is going to be going into that 6th house next year, right, of this self-expression, passion, the importance of having freedom with these things in your life. So November, Jupiter goes into Scorpio, all right? So for both of you, it's going to feel like your first house. So November, December, and going into 2019, coming out of the more watery behind-the-scenes energy and more into the world. A lot of you getting more active in the world, A lot of you feeling a bit inspired with your independence, your self-autonomy, a little greater sense of confidence, and pursuing your personal goals, becoming more aware of your personal needs and all this. So really good for that stuff. You'll notice these last couple months. And then, in fact, there is going to be a new moon December 7th in Scorpio, which will be a new beginning with your energy and yourself, and great time to set some new goals for the new year, you could say, in December going into 2019. All right, so Scorpio Ophiuchus, have a fantastic year. Thank you for watching. If you'd like that 20% discount, that link on the page is the link for that. But wishing you the very best year, and I'll see you all very soon for the next forecast. Take care.